You okay?
Yeah. I'm just doing a little. It's okay.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Notier Frontiers Diaries.
Wow!
Right.
That was good.
Nailed it.
In our last episode, we were traversing down the North East BDR, which we were super excited about because of all the wonderful things we'd heard about the BDRs all across the United States. And we'd seen our own awesome little clip of it in Colorado. And so we definitely wanted to do another BDR road, which is the Backcountry Discovery Route. They're maps that have already been laid out of different backcountry roads in
all
different parts of the country.
Yes,
yeah, and it's free. It's got all the information that you would need about where to go, where to stay, where to eat, where to get gas, etc., and the difficulty level of the roads. So we had started in the last episode from Hancock, New York, and we're heading kind of along the Delaware River. And the night before, we'd stayed at this campground where they had like horse stall areas in the forest for people to camp with their horses, which I just think is so cool.
Yeah.
And we woke up in the morning. It had been a very nice, peaceful night.
And I had looked at the BDR route that I had on the GPX file, and it did say it went through some like level 3, stuff.
Right.
And so I made a mental note of it because I couldn't quite figure out how to do the alternate route via manipulating it on my phone. Now, if I took the time, I totally probably could have.
So they had an alternate route. So this level 3, I suppose, was one of the more difficult levels, if not the most difficult.
Yeah.
We had done some difficult things.
We've
certainly
done level
in the past.
8 stuff.
Yeah.
Code
so it wasn't
red.
like we were totally scared of it.
No.
But there was a lot of leaf coverage on the ground because this was late October. So traversing that on the motorcycle was a little bit trickier than normal just because you couldn't see the ground underneath the tires, or
it's very
you couldn't pick a line.
To try to pick a line, and
Yeah, you'd often just like hit a big hole or hit a huge rock and not know it. Kind of stop you in your tracks.
Well, and the holes and the sticks and the rocks, those are all manageable because you're over them and done with them. It's the stupid hidden little ruts that you can't see.
You get kind of channeled into it.
Into tire tracks that you can't see, and then you can't get out of them because, it's just whatever. We survived. It was all good. There was some difficult stuff. There were some times where I mumbled to myself, but it was...
Yeah, so far everything had been fine. But we wanted to keep that in mind because we were enjoying ourselves so much, and we were also going really slow because we were stopping a lot to take pictures.
Yeah.
So we kind of decided between ourselves, let's take the alternate route. It'll be fine. We don't need to have this, huge challenge later on in the day. But yeah, that was later on in the day, so we headed off, all smiles, just really excited for another day of the Northeast BDR. We had breakfast in a little town there, and they had these amazing egg sandwiches on muffins and grilled muffins. That was delicious.
Didn't we get like 2 each?
Yeah. Well, we got some for lunch too.
To bring with us for lunch. But yeah, those were fantastic.
That was good. And it was a chilly morning, and it was a little cloudy and drizzly, so having those warm sandwiches was perfect. And then knowing that we had some for a picnic area later was, it was great. And we headed on down the road. It was beautiful. There were waterfalls that we were passing. There were beautiful old barns and quaint little towns that we'd go through, farmlands. There would be sometimes a little creek, and it would just be bubbling over these rocks. And then, of course, the trees were all in full bloom, as I say, but for fall. They were all the colors of reds and yellows and just bright, bright colors fluttering out of the trees and through the air.
What I really liked is, the off-road sections were fun in their own right, and there were some, it takes you into the middle of the countryside sometimes, and there's little downhill, muddy passages, but I'd make Marisa jump off and take pictures of me with, going down the muddy section with the rolling, colorful hills behind me, and so you have that as far as one extreme of awesomeness, and then you go down these little twisty, roads that are asphalt, but alongside the road are these little stone walls that twist and curve around.
It's like a whole city was built here with the stones. So much work, and now it's just rubble. It's crazy. I love seeing history like this.
They'll butt up to cemeteries from the 1800s. I don't know, with little iron gates that have rusted away.
I'm sure they're from the 1800s. I mean, they call this area New England, and it's like that for a reason, because they do have all these stone walls that someone had put a lot of effort into long ago, but now they've kind of tumbled down and they're covered in moss and lichen, and the forest is taking over. It's just
beautiful. And I don't understand, because we'd be on off-road sections too, and those same little stone walls would be, and they're not like the stacked stone walls. A lot of them were almost like slate stacked on each other. There's different
slate
types.
And shale, they'd just kind of put.
But 50 miles of continuous, just I'm just who built this, and who maintains it, and who
Well, no one maintains it anymore. Really.
But it was an enormous effort going behind it, and it just made for an absolute beautiful surrounding. And again, those cemeteries.
I love those cemeteries. You'd come across it. It brings home the idea that you are in a place that has been lived in and tended to and loved for so long.
Yeah. And it was nearing Halloween.
Yes.
And so like the mood was the atmosphere was very Halloween-esque with the cemeteries, and we went by this old barn that seemed half abandoned. And I'm taking the cool pictures of all the things. And then as I'm like zooming in to get a cool shot, there's like
these two freaky
dummies.
dolls. They were bigger than dolls. They were dummies
just in the window. And I was just like, ah! I was like, that creeped me out. So good on you, whoever the hell did that.
And it wasn't like they had any other Halloween decorations.
No.
It didn't seem like Halloween
decorations. The barn was a Halloween decoration. It was creepy as heck.
It really was creepy. We're like, okay, I think it's time to move on.
We are going to move on because the hills have eyes.
If there was any place that was going to be haunted, it was going to be that place.
For sure.
But we were having a blast, and we saw our first covered bridge.
True. Underneath it because it was that old, but there was pedestrian, you could walk across it and stuff. And so it kind of to get cars away from it, they like put it like there's these two mounds that go up to it and then the covered bridge. And I'm on a motorcycle, so I can get up and over those mounds, but I just wanted some cool shots of it in front of the covered bridge. I didn't go into it, but it was
so
really cool.
The timbers that they would use to build this one had been restored recently, but they still used all of those original timbers. Those trees were huge. Yeah. You could tell that was a lot of old growth that they had used for this. And it kind of perplexed me for a moment. I thought, what's the point of building a covered bridge? You know, you're on the road, let's say you're in a horse and carriage, and you're going to get rained on if it's going to be rainy, and you're going to get snowed on if it's going to snow. But then you have this one little section where you're protected. It didn't make any sense to me.
Do you have an answer for us?
Yes, I do have the answer.
Here we go.
Why they did the covered bridge is because if you build a bridge out of wood, it's going to be destroyed by the elements a lot quicker.
Makes sense.
Than if you put a roof over it. So they would have those roofs in order to protect the bridge itself. So that worked out for quite a long time. Unfortunately, there's only, I think, 10% of the covered bridges that they used to have in New England left. So it's really special to come across one. Yeah. And of course they would have to be restored because yes, weather does eventually destroy it.
Whether or not there's a roof or not,
that's right.
Eroded.
They're quite old and really, really cool looking. Yeah. And it just made us feel like, yes, we've made it now to the Northeast. This is officially now the North East BDR.
Yeah, so spirits were high, and
yes,
we once again got back on the motorcycle with wide smiles and continued to chug along.
We were having a blast, and everything seemed perfect until we were going up this one section, and the leaves were covering the ground like usual, so you couldn't see what was in front of you.
Blame the leaves. Continue. Now you know the leaves are evil.
And you hit a big rock that, even with all of our momentum, the bike just could not get over.
I hit loose gravel, and the back tire wasn't propelling at the same equation as it used to.
Oh, was that it?
Well, I don't know. I had momentum, and then I didn't. Just a hidden rut that I didn't see.
Yeah, I think it was a rock though, because it was like this sudden, it was almost like we hit a wall. And I flew forward.
We fell over.
You stepped to the left because the bike was falling to the left and you wanted to support it.
Yes.
So you put your leg out and did a pretty good job of slowing that fall. But I had already had this forward momentum.
She was a missile.
At this point in time, I remember this like it was slow motion, and I just hit the windshield. I saw the windshield just coming straight at me. Now I have my helmet on. I had my visor down, but it was cracked just a little bit. And that windshield came right in through the crack, flipped up the visor, and it hit me straight in the lip. And I could feel, I'm flying forwards, and the windshield is very, very thick plastic, but I could feel it go like boing, like against my face and brain and teeth. And
I think the windshield was a constant, and your brain.
Yeah, my brain was doing a bit of boing as well.
And I was off, and it sucked because I dropped the bike. But then, I was like, "You all right?" And she's like, "Oh, I hit my lip. Oh my gosh. Oh no." And she's checking herself out in the mirror, and I'm taking some pictures because that's what I do when I drop the bike.
Well, first and foremost, we check to see if we're okay. But then second of all, we don't forget to take pictures. Oftentimes, we're so caught up in the moment that we forget to.
Yeah, I mean, my first priority, because, I have an overflow hose, and sometimes the gas it stinks, and, it's just...
We just want to get the bike upright as soon as possible and just, kind of calm our nerves. But you can't forget in that moment to take pictures, if that's something that you want to do.
This is true. And it helps with my coffee table book of beautiful places Tim's dropped his motorcycle.
Oh, yes!
It's coming.
Now, that book has not come out yet.
Fall of 2027. It's got to be the fall. I just made that up.
Oh! But, I was shaken up literally and emotionally because even though it wasn't a bad fall, because it had hit me in the lip here and I'd seen this thing come towards my face, and I felt like it was a very sensitive area that I felt just scared.
And that's the first, I've dropped the bike a lot of times with Marissa on the back, and that was a weird freak one.
It is.
I stepped off and she went forward. Now, of course, when the bike wanted to fall, I broke my momentum with my arms and aborted, But I still don't understand how
it went through where the visor and the helmet. I mean, it was a very freaky.
I always ride with my visor up to get fresh air. Unless it's raining, my visor's up, and it made me think twice about it. And there is a reason why, it's a full face, because that is an accident that can happen quite often. But I do still think
for the rider,
for sure,
in particular.
Yeah, usually the passenger isn't hitting the windshield.
Right.
That's weird, right?
It is a bit weird, yeah. But it did kind of cut up my lip just a little bit, not like anything super serious, and that went away in a few days.
So after she kind of messed her lip up, but we got the bike back upright, and we climbed the hill successfully as a team and made sure she was okay.
And we just had a little breather because that was very important in that moment, to just calm the nerves and collect yourself. And for me, I just felt like I wanted to sit and enjoy my water and enjoy the beautiful views all around. And just,
I was happy and peppy, and
you were fine, but I felt
Marissa was a little sour.
I was shaken up. You took a couple pictures of me smile, and I was not happy because I'd just seen this thing coming towards my face, and it was very scary for me, even though it was fine. But after 5 minutes and after a little bubbly waters and snacks, I was fine, and we got back on the motorcycle, and we had a great afternoon. We passed by a field that had, the skies were cloudy with these God rays just streaming down onto this little pond.
Oil painting. There's these fuzzy little grasses blowing in the wind, and there was a little lake in the middle. I had to pull over and take 100 more pictures. And
the pictures are nice, but they didn't capture it. That's what I feel anyway, because I was standing there and just taking pictures, and I'm like, I hope these can capture what it feels like to see this like grand. It felt, you know how they say like the origins of the word awesome, right? Like creating awe. That's what it felt like to me. It was just jaw-dropping, like, oh, I couldn't believe it. Just the grandness of it all. And then you see this little picture and it just doesn't do it justice.
Yes.
And we thought, oh, everything's going to be perfect.
Yeah,
so
that lifted her spirits right up again.
It did. It lifted my spirits up again. And I told Tim, you know, after this fall, I don't want to do that tough section. We'd already decided we wanted to take the detour, but I was like, all right, for sure now, we have to take the detour of that one really tough section that's coming up. And he said, yeah, of course. Unfortunately, though...
Well, we kept going. We went down a pretty nasty spot that got kind of ugly.
You gotta get off.
And then when I looked at my phone, I had realized that we had missed the turnoff to avoid the tough section. But I figured, well, maybe if it stays at this amount of difficulty, then we'll be okay.
Yeah.
But we missed our exit.
That's right. We missed our exit because we hadn't changed the map to be the other section. So that was our own fault, but we were like, we've done worse before. This is going to be fine.
Yeah. But no.
No.
Yeah, but no.
So that will be the next episode. And I hope you liked this one. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below.
Ding, ding.
And I can't wait to see you next time.
Peace, everybody.
Bye.
Stay safe.